Russian.
Sound Russian.
Hi everyone! You're listening to the Sound Russian podcast, a podcast for those who are in love with the Russian language and Russian culture. And today, as always, are its hosts. With you, as always, are its hosts Victoria and Denise.
Hello.
And today we have a special guest whose name is Marco.
Hi.
So guys, I hope you are not shocked that we are speaking English today. So this is because our guest Marco can speak Russian, but not that fluently. That's why we do this episode in English. But I'm sure you will learn a lot of interesting facts about Russian culture, Russian language from the point of view of a foreigner. So we will have some questions to Marco and he will kindly answer them. So yeah, the first question and the most obvious one is, Marco, why are you in Russia?
Hi, everyone. Once again, well, it's my great pleasure to visiting Russia for I would say, number of times. This time I was invited as visiting lecturer at DSTU in media and communication, and I am actually teaching a subject called academic writing in English.
So, Marco, could you tell your experience in Russian? Is it first time or not first time? Maybe you tell some story how it happened with Russian.
Well, I have a history with Russian universities. I started, I think, approximately 10 years ago with the Ural Federal University in Yekaterinburg, and then continue collaboration with South Ural State University in Chelyabinsk, and then visited Moscow, Nizhny Novgorod, Saransk, St. Petersburg, and finally I reached to Rostov, which is my great pleasure and honor, and I was invited. This is my second time to visit Rostov, and it's a huge task, I would say, and huge pleasure.
So as we can see, you've visited many Russian cities, like in different parts of Russia. And do you have your favorite one?
Of course, the current one is the favorite one.
Can you see any difference between Russian cities?
Well, I would say that Rostov is the warmest city so far, considering that previous cities were on the far north or far east, and the climate is different, of course. But also the people, I think people in Rostov are quite friendly and very welcoming, and I feel now like I'm at home.
So does it mean that climate in your hometown is similar to Rostov, or you're talking about not climate but people?
I would say that both aspects are similar.
Okay, and what is your hometown in Serbia?
My hometown is one very small town in the middle part of the country, but I live in Novi Sad, which is the second largest city in Serbia after our capital city, Belgrade.
Sound Russian.
Sound Russian.
You can speak Russian, right?
That's right.
But what is your level?
I would say very modest one. So I actually understand a lot. I never had a formal education in Russian, but I can find many relations and many connections with Serbian language, which are both Slavic languages, and they are kind of quite similar.
Mm-hmm. So, and okay, you said you didn't learn Russian like in a formal way, any formal way, but how did you do it then? So maybe that information could be useful for our listeners, for people who learn Russian. So maybe you can give some advice on how to learn the Russian language.
So I used different ways. One of them was watching movies, Russian movies, and listen to the music, listen to the people, and actually try to understand as much as possible. And also I had one short course of language in Chelyabinsk, which was very short but quite informative about the basics in Russian. So I think I could speak, on basic level, just to, on the streets, in the cafes or restaurants, I can figure it out, all the situations.
So that means that the main way to learn the language was through listening.
That's right, especially if you have this kind of, language skills to actually listen good and to repeat the same.
So this just proves that our podcast, where we teach people the Russian language through listening, is an effective way.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
So, Marko, please introduce yourself for our listeners.
My name is Marko Petrovic. I'm coming from Serbia. I'm Senior Research Associate at the Geographical Institute of the Serbian Academy of Science and Arts in Belgrade. I am doing my research in many areas of geography, tourism, management, and marketing. But the topic of my lectures is mainly related with research and academic writing, considering that in the last 9 years, I am editor-in-chief of the journal indexed in Scopus and Web of Science, and I had a lot of experience dealing with a lot of articles, reviewers, authors, and editors. And so this is my in short. Basically, I like to travel a lot. I like being good company, of course, and I like to learn Russian better.
And we will kindly help you with this.
Thanks.
Yeah, maybe you have some interesting stories about your experience in Russia. Maybe something funny, something that shocked you, something you didn't expect. Are there any such stories?
Well, first of all, let me underline that, daily life in Russia, it's quite similar to daily life in Serbia. There are no many differences in comparison with many other European countries I experienced during my travels. But, there are many different words in Russian, and I had a very funny situation in the restaurants. I heard one song on the television which called Твои глаза. And I asked professor about the meaning of the word глаза. She said ice, and I understand ice like, ice.
The cold.
Yeah, cold thing, yeah. And then I went to the restaurant, and my drink was warm, and I asked a waiter to bring me her глаза. And she actually was shocked by my request. She asked, what kind of глаза you want?
Maybe she thought that it was pickup.
Yeah, by the way, it's a typical situation with Russian people who learn the English language, because in Russian we have this phonetic tradition to make voiced consonants voiceless at the end of the word. For example, we say glaz. Yeah, I mean the word glaz, we read as glass. So we always make them voiceless. And Russian people tend to do the same thing when they speak English. That is not correct. Yeah, that's why people, instead of saying eyes, they say eyes. Yeah, and that's why many people can confuse the meanings. And this was that situation with the professor, yeah? The professor said eyes, and you misunderstood each other, right? But yeah, that's very interesting.
Sound Russian.
Maybe was it something strange for you? Maybe in some traditions or food?
I think the first thing is actually ukrop. You use it a lot in your national cuisine.
You mean spicy ukrop?
That's right. I don't know word in English, actually.
The Russian word ukrop means dill in English.
Dill.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, one of the unusual things here in Russia was, for the very first time, was using of del spicy. You call it ukrop in mostly all dishes. I was so impressed by it, because in my native country it is very rare to use this spice. But also some other things. Maybe regulations and security matters are also much stricter than in Serbia. For example, in Serbia, you don't need to show your documents only in very official places. You can drink on the street if you want, and it's much more, I would say, relaxed situation in general. That is, I would say, the main distinction between Serbia and Russia nowadays.
Okay, and where were you asked to show your documents? You wanted to buy some beverages in the shop, and the checkout woman asked you to show your passport, or
Well, I bring my passport everywhere because I'm not sure anymore where I should show my passport for which purposes, They always say, "Passport, пожалуйста, passport, пожалуйста," and I'm just, okay, here you go.
Well, yeah, that's true. I could say that I used to take my passport everywhere some time ago. Then I just started to take my driving license everywhere with me, because now it's kind of similar in many situations where you need to show your passport. You can just show your driving license, and that's enough. Yeah, but that's really so. And it's strange. Why? So the passport is such an important document. If you lose it, it's very serious, right? And so you better keep it in a safe place. But we Russian people, we normally take our passport everywhere. Okay.
So, Mark, could you tell about food? Which kind of food in Russia is your favorite?
Well, so far I tasted a lot of dishes. And I would say that maybe pelmeni, shashlik, and borscht are the most common ones, but my favorite ones, because they are very, I would say, traditional. And my first association when it comes to the Russian cuisine is actually those three dishes.
And you don't cook borscht in Serbia?
No, not at all.
Because I know that like in Czech Republic or Poland, they also cook borscht, if I'm not mistaken. But in Serbia, not.
No, I think maybe it's related with northern regions. I don't know. In Serbia, we have a lot of, kind of other vegetables available. So we have some other dishes.
Okay. And is there anything common Serbian and Russian cuisine?
Common, we eat a lot of bread and, bakery stuff. So we are kind of, I think main differences between Russians and Serbians on one hand and Europeans on the other hand. It's not common in Europe to eat a lot of bread.
Yeah, they have like different buns, rolls, but
that's right.
Bread is something different.
Yeah, that's correct.
And is there anything like Russian specific food products that you miss when you are back in Serbia?
Well, first of all, this kind of sweet milk, zgušćene молоко.
Condensed milk, yeah.
Condensed milk. We don't have it in Serbia, and I really miss that when I return back. But also, tea drinking. It's not common for Serbs to drink tea except when they are ill. So, and I noticed that in Russia, you consume tea on daily basis.
And about condensed milk. For example, I have a student and our listener, Daniel. Hi, Daniel. He's from Hungary. And recently he sent me some pictures. In these pictures were some Russian traditional food stuff. And he bought this food in Russian stores. He found some Russian stores in Vienna. So he traveled to Vienna and went to some Russian stores and bought some Russian food there. So there are no stores with Russian food in Serbia?
There are, but they're not very common. Even there are a lot of Russian citizens in the last few years, settled in Serbia. I believe that there will be more and more stores with Russian products, and I are looking forward. Actually.
Yeah, so maybe you can go and buy on daily basis your favorite condensed milk. Сгущенное молоко.
Sound Russian.
Sound Russian. Which recommendation can you share to our listeners who will travel to Russia?
Well, I will recommend anyone to visit Russia, considering diverse culture and nature, and especially welcoming people here. I always feel here so friendly atmosphere, and I also have strong relations considering the historical background of our two countries. And of course, I always feel here like at home. And I feel that most of foreigners have the same experience as well.
Thank you, Marko, a lot for joining our episode today, for sharing your great stories. So we hope that everyone who is listening to this episode today has a chance to come to Russia one day and feel this friendly atmosphere, feel like home. So, and we will see each other in the next episode. Пока-пока.
Пока-пока.
Sound Russian.
Sound Russian.